Okay, we have a 1:30 preset. Unfortunately, there he is. Look at there.
Say today's date.
What? Okay. We are going to continue our December 5th Board of County Commission meeting with a 1:30 preset that I'm promised will be very quick, so we can move on to what everybody's in the room for. And with that said, Mr. Doolin, it is, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to read it. Department 4, presentation and request for an adoption of the draft impact fee study. Mr. Doolin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Clyde Doolin with the Growth Management Department. With me is Nilgen Camp, our consultant on the impact fee study. This is the same document, the same information that we presented to you previously at a first meeting. In this case, we're simply asking you to approve the impact fee study, and so that we can move forward and begin work on amending the land development regulations, specifically Article 6, and we'll bring it back to you next year with changes based on the impact fee study and based on changes in Florida statute, so that we can update the impact fees next year. We're ready to answer questions about the impact fee study if you have some, but that's the long and the short of it.
Oh, that's quick. Okay, as promised. Any questions for staff?
I think it's important for residents to understand why we're undergoing this and what kind of limitations the state has put upon us. We don't have complete discretion about setting our impact fees, nor do we have the ability to, even though we know the cost of providing improvements, we're not necessarily allowed to collect as much as it takes in order to implement those projects. Can you explain a bit, Ms. Camp, since you're the expert, about what kind of limitations we're under?
Yes, Nilgün Camp with Benish. In 2021, we had the legislation pass, and it put limits on how much the impact fees can be increased and over what time. So if the increase is up to 25%, it needs to be done over 2 years. If it's between 25 and 50%, it has to be done over 4 installments, and it cannot be increased more than 50% unless the local government conducts a study that shows extraordinary circumstances, and those are discussed at 2 public meetings, and the 2/3 of the governing body votes for that increase that's above 50%. There's also a limitation how often the fees can be increased, and they put that at a minimum of 4 years. So those put some limits on what the local governments can do.
So the current legislation that was passed in 2021 limits us to revising them every 4 years. So the ones that we adopt later on this year, we will not be able to revise again for 4 years unless there's new legislation? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. This is extremely complicated, and I think you've done an absolutely terrific job of evaluating what our options are. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Need a motion, I would assume?
From the public?
Oh, I'm sorry. Does anybody want to talk about it from the public? Seeing none?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by
Done
Commissioner
that in a while.
Smith. Yeah. Welcome to the real world. Motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing number 3. Legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 23-12, the Ranch PUD Future Land Use Map Amendment. And that will be, once again, by Mr. Doolin.
Hello again, members of the board. Unlike the last comprehensive plan amendment that you considered, this is a future land use map amendment about a specific piece of ground comprised of 3,902 acres. The proposed change is from agricultural, allowing 1 unit per 20 acres, to rural lifestyle. And the rural lifestyle language that would be applicable is the language that you considered at the last public hearing. Below is an aerial photo showing the site in question. This yellow line here where my cursor is Southwest Bridge Road. This yellow line is Canner Highway extending from Stewart on out all the way to Indiantown. The property sits on both sides of Canner Highway and south of Bridge Road, comprising the 3,900 acres. For context, the lands to the south have been platted and divided into minimum 20-acre lots. There's a golf course that's been approved and is under construction here to the west on the north side of Canner Highway between the Canner and the canal called Rolling Sands, which is under construction. And on the north side of Bridge and on both sides of Canner Highway here on this screen where I'm showing you is the Three Lakes Golf Course, which is currently under construction.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Are you okay with interrupting, or are you?
Yes, sir, please.
The 20-acre subdivisions to the south, when were they approved?
The one here where my cursor is, I believe, was in either 99 or 2000, right about that time, maybe 2001.
Wasn't 2001. It was before my time.
Okay.
I'm
I'm going from memory. It was about 20 years ago.
at least.
The one farther to the west where my cursor is was platted in the years following that. So it would have been in the 2000s at some point, prior to 2010.
While we're doing, if someone could look that up, because I think it was more in the middle 90s, but just
Sure, we can do that.
great.
To discuss the site a bit more, more specifically, this site. This is a map showing the soils in the area where you see multiple colors or on top of each other. That's the higher likelihood of hydric soils and so on. And again, here's another map showing soils and NWI wetlands where you see the blue, and hydric soils and NWI wetlands are where you see the green, and it's just hydric soils where you see the brown. Staff found that it did not violate, it was consistent with 13 of the sprawl criteria. That is, that it does not encourage sprawl because it is the same proposed density in the land use designation. And I want to show you the land use designations. This is the site shown on the same map that you looked at on the previous public hearing. The area in orange is the property in question. As you can see, the large lot subdivisions are to the south. The pink land here to the east is publicly owned by the South Florida Water Management District. And as you can see, the northern portions of the proposed property are adjacent to the 6,000-foot buffer around the freestanding urban service district. So the location of the site does comply with the text that you considered in the last public hearing. And as you can see, there's the large lot subdivisions also to the west of the site. This is the land use color that represents rural lifestyle, and it is shown on what was the Becker B14 property and is now more commonly known as the Discovery property here where my cursor is. The yellow parcels are large lot subdivisions that have already been divided into minimum 20-acre or minimum 5-acre subdivisions. Staff found that it met 2 of the 4 criteria for staff to make a recommendation of approval. The public services have been evaluated. The traffic analysis has been done. I will note that the traffic analysis did not compare unused, undeveloped land. It compared the most intense use that's possible in the agricultural future land use designation with the proposed density and the proposed development type of this rural lifestyle future land use designation. And staff recommends approval of this proposed future land use change on 3,900 acres. With that, I'll end the presentation and be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? None? And the applicant?
Good afternoon. Tyson Waters on behalf of the applicant. Our notices were turned in for this meeting at the LPA hearing. We agree with staff's recommendation and the recommendation of the LPA, and we'd ask that this board transmit it to the state for further review. I do think some of those maps are beneficial to see the sensitive nature of this land and the benefit of the rural lifestyle for us to be able to craft a better development, plan a little bit better for what can happen on this property. And you're going to be able to do that through a PUD. And one of the very unique things about the rural lifestyle land use designation is that that plan unit development agreement is going to be in front of you on the same day the land use is approved. So things like water quality, the fact that we're going to pull millions, if not hundreds of millions of gallons a year out of the C44, use it for purposes on the property, and then by the time it goes back out, it's going to be cleaner. All of those things are going to be at that same meeting, so there's a lot of benefit that you'll see come the approval of this. And with that, again, we'd ask for your approval, and we're here for any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, back to the board. Oh, public comment, yeah.
That part.
Forgot about that part. Okay. Frank Diembra. No? Okay. Gigi.
Late 90s.
Dubay.
Ms. Dubay. It's three.
Yeah.
Geraldine Janko Dubay. My background is I am a financial professional, have been for 40 years, head of compliance for major Wall Street firms. And we look at things as part of the larger solution and larger vision. Takes more than just thinking. It's not just about maintaining what we have today, but planning for what we have tomorrow. I noticed that this development has a connector under Canner. I imagine that's for people. What is the connector that the county is requiring to connect the preserve areas, the conservation areas that Commissioner Smith talked about? See that even addressed in this plan. Another thing, you plan not just for development, but development is comprehensive. You can't just look at one development and not look at all the other developments and how they fit together and how they affect the conservation and preservation and services. A good example is my husband. He's an internist. He and his staff are so overwhelmed with the number of people that are moving into this county now, they can't keep up with it. It's 6 months to get a visit now for a primary specialist. If he's being affected like that, how's everybody else being affected? How are other services being affected? It's that lack of planning that the comprehensive plan would be addressing, and that the urban services was designed for, that is not being addressed. And I don't understand, you have the power. You're supposed to have the vision. You're supposed to be thinking about us and where we and this county will be tomorrow. Why aren't you directing your staff to fulfill the need for this type of planning? I don't know what else to say, but the decisions and the solutions lie with you. It's just not a question of approving another beautiful development.
Thank you. Mr. Greg Braun, followed by Terry Gibbs.
I don't see him.
Where's Greg? Huh. No commitment. Terry Gibson.
Good afternoon. This morning was fascinating, and I really commend the commission for your conversation. Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Hurd, if I was going to make a case against term limits, I'd use you two as examples, even though
One of us.
you're another important decision point here. I learned a couple things about a few others of you. Chair Jenkins, I really respect your thinking on this and where you wound up. I didn't know you understood soil science. Commissioner Compey, I didn't really understand that you understood BMPs and golf courses. 10 years ago, my dad died, and I had to learn how to be a farmer. I've never grown a tomato in a pot before. So I want to get to discuss the water and why it's important to go on and pass this thing, go on and improve this thing, because there's an immediate conservation and water quality improvement opportunity. It bothered me to hear a lot of the opposition to say that golf courses pollute, like if they pollute by design. Well, no. I mean, we're all using smart ag stuff now, irrigation and fertilization techniques that prevent runoff. Absolutely. You can, I mean, I do this on my farm. I take dirty water out of Lake Okeechobee and put it in my farm, and it's twice as clean by the time it leaves, if it ever leaves. Oftentimes it doesn't. So that I'm glad you all debunked that, and thank you for doing that. There was also some criticism of the Clean Waterways Act. I spent 4 years of my life on that bill, and no good deed goes unpunished. I'm taking nothing but grief about that. You guys are not taking the most liberal interpretation of that rule. You're taking a very conservative rule. It's why we intended it. We know that sewage is superfood for harmful algal blooms. We never even talk about the pathogens, and you don't want to know what some of the organizations we support have found in that lagoon. MRSA count's too high to count, for example. We can't live that way anymore, and that's why we're at the risk of encouraging sprawl. We're having to send water and sewer out to new development. Anyway, I think this project is unique, and Chair Jenkins, I really appreciate you volunteering to take the lead on the planning. Commissioner Hurd, thank you for reminding us that we have this wonderful bedrock of planning called the comp plan, and several others of you mentioned that there are other studies, so we're not having to start from scratch. But Godspeed with that. We need to do that. And Commissioner Smith, I am going to take it to Tallahassee tomorrow that Martin County needs help with land acquisition. I'll make that a focus of our efforts this session. Anyway, there's still time in this process, time and space in this process for more rigor. Slowing it down doesn't get you anything. It just doesn't. So, and I wouldn't, wasn't my place to say it, but several of you have referenced the state and its heavy-handed approach just now. I'm really terrified of that. So please proceed. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Brandon Tucker, followed by Adam Yingling.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and staff. Brandon Tucker, Executive Director of Florida Landowners Association. I think in most counties I'd be standing at, and I hear about a future land use amendment on 4,000 acres. There'll probably be somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 units being proposed. But here in Martin County, because of the standard of excellence that has been set in this county for decades, we're sitting here talking about an applicant that is asking for less density than what is vested by right, that has come up with a creative plan, that one like I've quite frankly never seen before. And once again, I applaud county staff, I applaud the applicant, the effort that's been made by this county commission to have that standard of excellence, to continue to send that message that Martin County does things with excellence. We set a platinum standard in what we do here, so people don't even think about doing something like that. But they come and bring creative ideas. They're going to bring economic development to this community. That rising tide raises all ships, and I believe that this is certainly a rising tide economically, environmentally, and all those aspects, and it's going to benefit everyone in this county and regionally. So the Florida Landowners Association would highly recommend that you proceed with this project. Thank you.
Mr. Yingling's followed by Tammy Semino.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Adam Yingling. I'm a proud third-generation resident of Martin County. I've spent lots of time on rural lands within the county and working cattle on them. I was happy to hear that the ranch is protecting a large amount of these natural areas within the site, including those tied to the agriculture. This will ensure that the cattle will continue to roam over 1,200 acres, and that's the kind of agricultural preservation on a large-scale development plan that is needed. Additionally, hundreds of acres designated for wetland protection is an integral part of conservation and habitat assurance for wildlife for years to come. I personally feel that the ranch is a great example for new developments on how to prioritize agriculture and conservation of our natural habitats. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy?
As I've listened to the comments this morning, it's kind of a deja vu for me, as you can imagine. But I don't think enough credit goes to the staff for the wonderful job that they do in conveying the ideas of the commission to the prospects coming into our community, and for you guys who make the tough decisions. And I think, I can't remember exactly what the year, but Commissioner Chairman Jenkins, when you mentioned the Western Land Study, we have done that. It's on your shelf. And in fact, I don't remember the exact year, but we paid a firm to come in and facilitate that whole discussion. And what I do remember of that, it was lower density, open space, wetland protection, and continuing agriculture. Those 4 pillars, I am positive, were part of that study that we did. So I'm totally for a study. I think they're great. However, you can study something to death. And we're right here. We already know what our vision is for our county, the gold standards, what everybody loves and wants to protect. There's not a person in this county that doesn't want what you guys want. So I would ask that instead of prolonging anything and doing another study, let's bring that study back, let's revise it, let's cut the time down, and in the meantime, let's look at this particular project as a model of what we want in our Western lands. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment?
Greetings, Commissioner. My name is Bob Ernst. Residents, taxpayers, voters are limited to 3 minutes. The developer, unlimited time. Rebuttal, we don't have that privilege. I would have mentioned this before when I was up here, but my 3 minutes disappeared. These two agenda items are so important. These are indicator votes. And the 3 of you have indicated you do not want to be stewards of Martin County, we are different any longer. You need to be replaced, and I'm going to see that that's done. What you have done today with your votes against Martin County, we are different, is deplorable. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you, Commissioner Hurd. Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. I didn't complete my first part when I was here because, as I just mentioned, I ran out of my 3 minutes. Why do we not live in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie? The people that were here today, the reason you're here is because it's Martin County, we're different. So what would inspire you to vote for the New York developer? He bought Ag 20. That's ag land. He has a right to use it as it is. It's outside the urban service boundary, which, as mentioned before, was sacred before you started voting it away. Yet now he wants you to change our Martin County comp plan, and you do not need to vote for that. You did not need to vote for that. The New York developer wants to break the Martin County USB, the sacred USB. The New York developer wants to eliminate our ag land. Commissioners, no ag land, no farmers equals no food. Golf balls are not that nutritious, and they do not taste that good. Commissioners, you have no choice, you had no choice to vote no on both the comp plan changes and the Calusa golf courses and golf mansions. I just want to bring up a couple of things. So we talk so much about septic and sewer. I live on original 10 acres of St. Lucie Inlet Farms, which was subdivided in 1904 in Palm Beach County. It was still back in the Palm Beach County at that time. I'm one person on 10 acres. If I'm out working my land and I have to pee, I pee on the smallest tree because that helps it grow. I flush the toilet.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to the board.
Did you get your question?
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, the applicant seems to believe that he is providing additional protection for wetlands, and that's not the case. Martin County doesn't allow any impacts to our wetlands, regardless of the use on that property. So you're not providing any additional protection for wetlands. The comprehensive plan requires that every future land use amendment be evaluated for 4 criteria for determining whether or not the conditions are met to provide a new future land use amendment. 1 of 4 has to be met. None of the 4 are met. The comprehensive plan also has 13 criteria for defining urban sprawl. This development meets all 13. The comprehensive plan also discourages the proliferation of urban sprawl. There are 8 criteria. It meets every one of those conditions for urban sprawl. The comprehensive plan requires that the new proposed land use be compatible with the surrounding land uses. It is incompatible with every single one of them. What it is compatible with is agriculture. Those are all the surrounding land uses. Therefore, it doesn't qualify for any of the criteria in the comprehensive plan for a future land use amendment and should be unanimously opposed.
Commissioner Campy. It says Jenkins here, but
Yeah, but can you recognize the
I
difference?
think I got it.
Mr. Doolin, you didn't review this application by yourself, did you?
No, sir.
How many members of the Growth Management Department are involved in the review of this project?
One other senior planner and the department director also reviewed the work and was also reviewed by legal department staff.
Engineering?
Yes, sir.
10 people from the county staff?
Utilities reviewed it. We also, yes, school district also reviewed it.
15? How many people would you say?
That's about right, yeah.
15 people. Professionals?
Yes, sir.
Certified? Trained engineers? In certain cases?
In certain cases.
Okay, the reason I ask is because, look, we're up here, there's 5 of us, and we're entitled to opinions. We're not qualified in the categories that you mentioned, legal, engineering, growth, professional growth management review, but 15 people did review it. And when you saw the criteria, you said the 13 points that would meet sprawl. You heard my colleague, respectful to my colleague, you heard her say that she felt that it was none were met. Do you agree or disagree with that?
No, sir, I don't agree.
And the other point about 4 criteria, that 1 of the 4 would have to be met, you said 2 of the 4 were met,
Yes, sir.
not 0, 2. So if, from my point of view, if I have to rely on the professional experience and decades, collaboratively, decades of experience, that's what I judge it on. Now, I like Commissioner Hurd, but that's her opinion. I'm not basing my decision on Commissioner Hurd's opinion. I'm basing my opinion on what I'm hearing from our staff. Now, if the staff had agreed with a different opinion, then you're geniuses. But if staff comes forward with a recommendation that some people disagree with, then you're not. So I just want to be clear when people hear that I'm relying my decision-making on the word of our professional staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'll read the criteria for a future land use amendment. A, past changes in land use designations in the general area make the proposed use logical and consistent with these uses, and adequate public facilities are available. Staff found that had been met, even though all of the land uses around there are ag and there's no water and sewer in the area. Next one, growth in the area in terms of development of vacant land, redevelopment, and availability of public services has altered the character of the area such that the proposed request is now reasonable and consistent with area land use characteristics. Again, every adjacent land use is ag with no public facilities available. It has not been met. Third, the proposed change would correct what would otherwise appear to be an inappropriately assigned land use designation. Even staff admits that that one hasn't been met. And lastly, the proposed change would fulfill a public service need that enhances the health, safety, or general welfare of Martin County residents. That criteria has not been met either, and staff agrees with that. Those are the 4 criteria. I've just read them to you. It's clear that none of them have been met.
Again, with all due respect, that's your personal opinion. Look, everyone's entitled to an opinion. If staff had agreed with Commissioner Hurd, you guys would think that they were absolutely remarkably great. That's how it works here, and they are familiar with that.
Mr. Chairman, may I? Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director, for the record. So as Mr. Doolin indicated, as the Commissioner pointed out, that 2 of those 4 criteria were met, as well as, I believe, 4 of the 8 criteria, thus the positive findings. So it is a legislative decision. It's a fairly debatable standard. That's why we're here today.
Commissioner Smith.
There's a lot been said today about exasperating our system, meaning services in Martin County. I said it earlier this morning, and again I'll say it this afternoon. The past few years in the city of Stuart have exasperated the system. The thousands of units that were allegedly told to us at a joint meeting that a consultant told the city that they needed 7,000 units in the city because everybody in Port St. Lucie that commutes to the city of Stuart needed a place to live so that they didn't have to commute anymore. If the city would only build 7,000 affordable units, all the transportation problems would be solved. That's what they told us at a joint meeting. I spoke up and said, gee, I found it ironic that all the 4-story stuff that was approved was adjacent to unincorporated Martin County, and all the 2-story stuff was adjacent to city voters. I was debunked. I was said that's completely untrue. That's what the developers wanted. But if you drive around the city and you look at what's 4-story and what it's adjacent to, and you look at what's 2-story and what it's adjacent to, you'll find, I think in every single case, the 2-story stuff is next to their voters, and the 4-story stuff is next to my voters in Jensen Beach and others around the county. Commissioner Hetherington had to deal with a 4-story major project on US 1 next to Springtree, I think it was, down on US 1, and the accommodations of the city were 0. So the exasperation of our healthcare system, if I were to lay blame on whether or not 2% growth in the county as a whole over the last 20 years exasperated that system, or was it the thousands of units that the city approved within the city limits, I would start pointing the finger at the city of Stuart. It also complicated the issue when Cleveland Clinic took over Martin Health. It changed the game completely. And for anybody involved, that's all I've heard since the takeover. That had nothing to do with the historical 2% or less growth in unincorporated Martin County. I would argue that a lot of the exasperation of the system is due to the city of Stuart promising something they didn't deliver on, and now we're stuck with it. The county commission had 0 control over what the city did. Relative to this project, and I say all that because it's easy to complicate the blame as to who's responsible for what. The county has been responsible, I think. I mean, if we go to the map from this morning and we look at the pink area, which you don't have to put back up because everybody saw it, plenty of time this morning. Again, I would argue that the county has done its part to the greatest extent possible to make sure that growth is limited and that it's done in an accommodating way. we have had presentations before that if you were looked at development patterns from the 60s, 70s, and 80s in Martin County, and then you look at projects that happened in the 90s and the 2000s, they're entirely different. The development approvals, the development strategies, the wetlands protections, all of the things that we deal with on a regular basis are entirely different. But again, that gets all jumbled into a we want to know vote, and that's just all jumbled up and pulled apart. So, I spent a fair amount of time this morning. Ed spent a fair amount of time explaining his position. Harold spent time, Stacy, Sarah, all to, I think, in our own way, try to clarify things that are said that are people's opinions. As Ed just pointed out, our staff doesn't get up and make stuff up. They're probably some of the best staff in the state of Florida relative to growth management. Certainly the most complex growth management system in the state of Florida. And they do an excellent job at giving us the information and the analysis and even the ideas of how can we get this better if there's a way to make it better. And I stand behind the decision we made this morning, and I will stand up, behind my vote this afternoon. I do think this is for Western Martin County is an interesting and productive and innovative way that the taxpayers of Martin County don't have to put up the money to do it. Now that's it.
That's it.
That's it for now.
Commissioner
To
Heatherington.
inspire me with something else.
I'll be brief and just echo some of your comments in brief. I think residents are exacerbated and they're looking, some of the emails we received on this particular project is, we're tired of the growth we see popping up on US 1. These are not apples to apples. That's not an apple to apple comparison. And Springtree was a real significant issue when you have incorporated abutting all these unincorporated residents, and you have zero decision to support the neighbors of that on a 4-story height limit. And I hear from them still every day on that particular project. And I wanted to say, again, I agree with all of that, particularly this is now, I'm going to call this from now on rural preservation. This is an example of rural preservation and not taxpayer monies are not being expended to acquire it. So to me, it's a win for Martin County, and I would certainly lend my support again to, and thank staff for doing your due diligence and move staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, staff, what kind of data did you use to analyze the 6,000-foot distance? Why 6,000 feet? Why not 7,000 feet? Why not 5,000 feet? Why not 5,280? Why 6,000?
First off, we start with the applicant's request.
Okay, that answers that question. And the 3,000 acres, why not 5,000 acres? Why not 4,000 acres? Why not? Seems that 3,000 is once again not an arbitrary number, but rather that was the applicant's request.
That was the applicant's request.
And what analysis did you do to determine that that would be beneficial, that that would be a recommended expansion of the rural lifestyle designation?
The additional acreage involves larger amounts of land that will be set aside for open space.
It's not a larger proportion.
70% of 3,000 is a larger piece of.
It's not a larger proportion. Why not 4,000? Why not 5,000? Why not 7,000 feet? So this was all done in order to accommodate one application, and it's going to become a county-wide land use?
It is a land use designation applicable in other portions of Martin County where they are within that, adjacent to that 6,000-foot distance. As shown on this map, where you see the hatching is where the 6,000 foot is, and that's the only place is where it would come in contact with that 6,000 foot buffer.
You told us less than a year ago that it wasn't going to be, it had to be adjacent to an urban service boundary, and that's, as of this morning, no longer the case.
Actually, the land use designation that was proposed for rural lifestyle was not tied to the 1,000, to the primary urban service district initially. That was done through the public hearing process and the back and forth and the legislative process, that it was actually tightened up and tailored down to that at a later stage.
What's the limit to the expansion of this rural lifestyle designation?
I'm sorry, the adjacency of the hatching.
Is this the end of the amendments to rural lifestyle?
I don't know what other applicant will bring in some other change, if any.
So there are other applicants lined up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
What's equally interesting in terms of how we react to public comment, to public requests. We have an individual with us today that came before us years ago and wanted to down land use, create a separate land use for his neighborhood. I voted to support that. It's called the LAGS community. It also allowed all the individuals, I suspect the individuals in that community, to keep their ag exemptions on their land use. And that was a good thing to do. Now, there were people who opposed that and people that didn't think that was a good idea. But we did that at the request of residents that lived in that neighborhood to protect that neighborhood from what they viewed as changes to the comprehensive plan that would be not in benefit to their neighborhood. And so we are, I say we, I at least, in my decision-making, as Ed pointed out this morning how he makes decisions, we do very much react to ideas, to things that the community as a whole get their heads wrapped around and think is a good idea. And I had forgotten, that story at the last presentation, but it did just come to mind that, inside the urban service boundary, which is talked a lot about this morning, we created an ag exemption area for residents to keep what they had and keep their ag exemption on their property. And that's a big deal because that ag exemption prevents the taxes that would be equivalent on that property if it were urban area. And that's a big deal. And I suppose at the end of the day, that was probably important to the neighborhood to keep their ag exemptions because that keeps their taxes very, very low. And so, as our community changes, as it grows, as ideas come forward, there are going to be changes to the comp plan. That was a change to the comp plan. And it had a financial impact on the county, clearly, because it allowed that portion of the county to stay into ag, which in the creation of the comp plan and land use, the future land use of that was not to stay ag, I assume, correct?
Correct.
So we made a change to the comp plan to basically down zone or down land use, land in the future land use idea planning strategy from the early 80s to leave it as ag. So this board does move where we need to move and how we need to move to accommodate those that are asking for something if it makes sense to do. With that, I'll second Commissioner Hetherington's motion.
Okay. With that, we have a motion by Commissioner Hetherington, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Motion passes 3-2. Commissioner Hurd, Commissioner Jenkins dissenting.
Thank you, members of the board.
All right. We'll now be moving on to public hearing number 4, legislative public hearing to consider adoption of comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 23-14, South Florida Gateway Plan Unit Development, PUD, future land use map parcel 2. Ms. Lovelady will be presiding. Welcome. And Mr. Doolin will be putting in a long day today. So sitting here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Samantha Lovelady with the Growth Management Department, for the record. And this is CPA 2314, South Florida Gateway PUD. It's a future land use map amendment. It is a site-specific future land use map amendment, small scale. It's on 32.26 acres, located south of 96th Street between Southwest Canner Highway and St. Lucie Canal. Here you see two parcels on the map. This public hearing is for parcel 2. Parcel 1 is in a later plan amendment this afternoon on the agenda. And this 32.26 acres is requesting, the applicant is requesting to remove that from the freestanding urban service district and to turn the land use into agriculture. It's pretty much a land swap with this 32.26 acres. So the freestanding urban service district is 250 acres. And if all is said and done, then it will remain 250 acres. Just 32.26 acres will be moved to a different location. This is the existing future land use, which is industrial at this moment. And this is the proposed future land use, which is agriculture. And it is a, as I said, request to change the land use from industrial to agriculture. There's a separate text amendment, which is CPA 2313. The application meets 13 out of 13 criteria that discourages urban sprawl and meets 5 out of 8 additional criteria that discourages the proliferation of sprawl. The LPA voted 4-1 to recommend approval, and staff recommendation is for a motion to adopt CPA 2314 South Florida Gateway PUD Future Land Use Map Parcel 2. And I will take any questions you may have.
Commissioner Hurd.
Why does this benefit Martin County? How does this benefit Martin County?
Well, they have actually, the freestanding urban service district, a lot of, some applications come in and nothing ever happens on the land. They are actively under construction, and which is helpful for economic development in Martin County.
So this is in order to encourage more industrial development at this site?
It's the same amount of industrial
But
that's there today.
It's a swap, so why is it beneficial for Martin County? I can understand why it's beneficial to the applicant.
It's beneficial in that it maintains the same amount of agricultural land.
It's a swap. It's an even swap. So tell me why it's beneficial for Martin County.
It's no net change. That's the benefit.
Thank you.
Oh. Mr. Grady.
Yes, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Morris Grady.
Can't hear you.
For the record, my name is Morris Grady.
Not on.
Is that even on?
I'm not sure I turned it on.
Don can.
Try it on. Try it now. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Again, for the record, my name is Morris Grady. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which in this case is the South Florida, well, actually, parcel 2, we're taking first, Canner 96th Street Investments LLC. And I have been turned in the return receipts at the LPA meeting, so they have all been submitted for both of these applications. And I wanted to put this first one up here because I am the representative for both parcel 1 and parcel 2. And both of them are exactly 32.26 acres. One is a change from industrial to agriculture, which is parcel 2, and the other is a change from agriculture to industrial, which is parcel 1. And I'll explain why I'm doing that. And the good news is I have good news and good news, because the good news, I have a short PowerPoint presentation, and the other good news, I only have to do it once because it's very simple. And once I help you explain. So this is the exhibit that we sent to the surrounding property owners, and you can see we're under development on South Florida Gateway PUD. We're actually close to a CO, and I'll show you in a couple of pictures in a moment where we are. This is an existing lake that's been constructed and landscaped. And the county, as you know, purchased 30 acres here, and the entire industrial land allocation has always been 250 acres, and we're not changing that. We're just making it, we're just moving the land that is not included in the PUD to an area where there is existing water, sewer, and access. And there's also a signal at Gateway Place that is under construction. So we made it clear in the exhibit that they're exactly the same size. One is being changed to industrial, the other is being changed to agriculture. And part of the text amendments is just redefining the freestanding urban service district and also addressing the water and sewer service areas. So all that is embedded in each of these applications. And where we're putting the industrial, again, is adjacent to existing developed industrial lands. You know, I am actually the agent for the vacant land surrounding the property, the agent for the South Florida Gateway PUD, and our intent is to come back before you with a PUD amendment to add this 32.26 acres to the PUD. As I mentioned, the whole purpose of us adding it to this site is because we're building existing infrastructure directly adjacent to this property. This is the signal at Southwest Gateway Place, and we're putting in a signal at Kenner Highway that will control traffic. This is actually the completed road. So this was taken a couple weeks ago. We built what I call the large triangle lake. This is not a rendering. This is industrial building that's currently getting ready to get CO'd. This is the north buffer that we constructed along the north property line of the PUD. And out of this entire 250 acres, the only native trees were in this buffer. And we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort with staff to save just about every tree within that buffer. And you can see we planted the Lake Littoral zones, the upland transition zones, where there was no trees on this site, on this entire 250 acres. We have added thousands of trees, including cypress trees, cabbage palms, pine trees, oaks, Tejon hollies. This lake has now incredible amounts of wildlife. You go out there today, you'll see tons of birds that are utilizing the lake. As I mentioned, the north buffer, we took extreme measures, and we're thankful for the county staff. They were helpful as we cleared the property. They came out a couple times to see where we could protect trees and save trees, and where we would supplement this existing buffer with native plants. So we've added within this buffer oak trees, pine trees. All these are native landscape trees, and you can see we've done this tree protection plan all the way through the buffer. And this road, by the way, dead ends into the construct water and sewer along Waterside Way, although it will get there eventually from Martin County's project. Right now, we have facilities completely built to the edge of this property. This property has been farmed just like the rest of the property for decades. This is an agricultural road, but all of this property surrounding it is part of the existing ownership, so we're having no impacts on the existing neighborhood. The nearest residential lot is about 1,000 acres to the north, and these lots within this mobile home park on Scory Lane are about a quarter mile from the project. So we're simply moving the land use where the utilities are existing. We're putting in a location that has no impact on surrounding properties, and with that understanding, we appreciate your support. And again, this is the same presentation for the next 4 items, so I'm just going to do it once, but staff has to go through their presentations on each account. But in the end of the day, that's the big picture, and it's really a lot simpler than it appears on paper.
Any questions for the applicant? Any public comment? I have no cards on it. I see no public comment. Back to the board.
There's no more, move staff's recommendation.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherton. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Okay. Public hearing number 5, legislative public hearing to consider adoption of comprehensive plan amendment CPA 23-13, South Florida Gateway Planned Unit Development, PUD, Parcel 2, text. Ms. Lovelady.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Samantha Lovelady for the record. This is a request by Kenner 96th Street Investments, and it is a request to change figures in the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, specifically Figure 4-2, which shows the Urban Service District. This amendment would remove Parcel 2 from the freestanding Urban Service District. Also being amended would be Figure 11-1, areas currently served by regional utilities, and Figure 11-2, potential service areas. This is the existing Figure 4-2.
It's an excerpt.
This is an excerpt. Thank you, Clyde. And the full Figure 4.2 would show up in the ordinance. And here you have the proposed, and you see Parcel 2 is removed here. That means that there are no longer services that would be available to those, to this property. Existing Figure 11-1, which is areas currently served by regional utilities. And you see the rectangle there. And this is another excerpt, and shows you the outline of what would be coming out. Again, this means there would be no utilities no longer available there. 11-2 is potential service areas. There has been an amended proposed Figure 11-2 that was provided to you by supplemental memo, and I'll go to that in just a moment. And the application is also to amend policies regarding the freestanding urban service district. Policy 4.13A10 created this freestanding urban service district through Ordinance 1153. And you see the bolded text there that says less and except property described in ordinance. And that ordinance number would be filled in upon approval. And so that less and except takes it out of the original ordinance number 1153. And for consistency purposes, 4.7A14 is being amended too, which are general prohibitions on development outside of the primary urban service district. And again, that bold text there takes the property out of the freestanding urban service district. Also for consistency, 4.7A3, 4.7A3.1, and 4.1B2. And Donna, if you could go to page 487 of the agenda. This is a slightly changed 11-2 from the original board item. I think we just missed the label up here. So with that, staff recommendation is for a motion to adopt CPA 2313, South Florida Gateway PUD text, Parcel 2. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, policy 4.7A 14 and 4.7A 3, this is the proposed ninth exception to the requirement that these services be provided only in the primary urban service boundary. What's 4.7A 14 and what's 4.7A 3? What are you accepting?
The property in that parcel 2.
I know, but what is it specifically accepting? Putting utilities outside the primary, putting water outside the primary, putting sewer outside the primary, putting
Yes,
industrial outside the primary, putting,
water and sewer.
Water and sewer specifically.
how
Those are-
about,
they're-
how about the exceptions for putting industrial outside the urban service boundary, primary?
That's because a freestanding urban service district is allowed on industrial land, and that industrial piece was created by Ordinance 1153 as a freestanding industrial.
How many
Urban service
freestanding urban service boundaries do we have now?
Believe 3, there's Ag Tech, there's 7Js, this one.
That's it.
And that's it.
Thanks.
Commissioner Smith.
What did the waterfront used to be on this parcel?
If you go back to, I think, like 2010, there was commercial waterfront, future land use designation, and industrial designations adjacent to the canal. They totaled about 250 acres.
And if memory serves me, we moved it from the waterfront east
Correct,
to where we are today.
correct.
And how long was that? Maybe you don't know this answer, but
Sorry. Don't.
it was there for a long time.
2000.
Probably 10
10.
years, about 10 years, yeah.
Commercial waterfront and the industrial.
Yes, but the commercial waterfront, we found there was an Army Corps of Engineers easement on that waterfront commercial to where that wouldn't have been viable for that use anyway.
Although unfortunately you wouldn't know this, but I've been in a conversation with others about that it might have been a viable application and anyway, but there was that land use or there was that zoning on the waterfront that got moved.
And that again was an even swap.
So it wasn't like this was just created poof out of nowhere. Like somebody said, ooh, I think that'd be a good place to put this. We swapped one from the other and then to the other. And this is like the third swap within that original swap.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Grady, I believe you said you already did your thing, so.
Yeah, I just want to agree with staff recommendation of approval. And the only other thing about that swap is that we did, as part of that, prohibit any industrial traffic on Southwest 96th Street. So when we made that move, that's still in place, and we're not increasing the intensity that's allowed under the current comprehensive plan text allowances. So there's no change in any of those restrictions that were placed when we actually did that swap.
Right, Morris, all I was trying to point out in the conversation is that the idea that this freestanding urban service boundary just came from out of nowhere, there's a history as to
But
why
yeah, it used to be part of the primary. This 250 acres was part of the primary urban service district, and we just moved it on Kenner Highway to attract economic development and to prohibit industrial traffic on 96th Street.
Okay, with that, any questions for Mr. Grady? Nope. Any public comment? Nope. Back to the board? I don't think so.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. Anybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. Okay. Now we've got one of these fancy public hearing quasi-judicial things that I hope I remember how to do. Public hearing to consider adoption of an amendment to the Martin County Zoning Atlas to change the zoning district classifications for CPA 23-14 South Florida Gateway Plan Unit Development Parcel 2. Ms. Lovelady, I think we got to stand and be sworn in for anybody that.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, is there any interveners?
There's no interveners?
You turned in your paperwork, appropriate paperwork.
Here's my work
It is
history.
being turned in, and my wife is calling me for some reason. She knows I'm in.
Ex parte communication.
Ex parte communications, yes, I was getting there. I was just distracted for a second. Commissioner Smith,
I do their file.
I do, they're filed.
if I have them, they've been filed.
If I have any, they've been filed.
If I have any, they've been filed.
Is that it?
Yes, and then when Mr. Crady comes up, he can talk about the notices.
Okay. All right, Ms. Lovelady.
Okay, this is a rezoning, a quasi-judicial rezoning for the South Florida Gateway PUD rezoning Parcel 2 that is connected with CPA 2314. It's a request by Cantor 96th Street Investments. And it is a request to rezone the 32.26 acres of the South Florida Gateway PUD Parcel 2 from Limited Industrial, or LI, to AG 20A. And you see the zoning change color there. The LPA voted 4-1 to recommend approval to the proposed zoning district from LI to AG 20A, and staff recommendation is for approval. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions for staff? Nope. Mr. Crady?
Yeah, for the record, Morris Crady, here on behalf of the applicant. We're in agreement with staff recommendation to downzone this property. I think it's the first time I've ever been before you. Reduce the zoning, but it comes with parcel 1 next. Thank you.
And is there any notices required, Mr. Crady?
Yes, you did provide the notices at the LPA meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions for Mr. Crady? Seeing that, back to the board.
Public comment?
Oh, public comment. I almost had it. No, seeing no public comment, now we're back to the board.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, public hearing number 6, legislative public hearing to consider
all day.
adoption of Comprehensive Plan Amendment CPA 2212, South Florida Gateway Plan Unit Development Future Land Use Map Parcel 1.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Lovelady, again.
Lovelady for the record. I've shown you this graphic. Now, this request is by South Florida Gateway LLC. It's a proposed future land use map amendment to Parcel 1, which is 32.26 acres on the north side of the South Florida Gateway PUD in the freestanding urban service district. And this is the existing future land use, which is agriculture. And that is the proposed future land use, which is industrial. Again, both parcels are 32.26 acres as a swap. This is a small-scale amendment, and it is a request to change from ag to industrial with the separate text amendment, which is CPA 2301. This meets 13 out of 13 criteria that discourages urban sprawl, and 5 out of 8 additional criteria that discourages the proliferation of sprawl. Staff recommendation is a motion to, before I go there, the LPA voted 4-1 to recommend approval. And with that, staff recommendation is a motion to approve CPA 2212 South Florida Gateway PUD Future Land Use Map Amendment on Parcel 1.
Okay, with that, any questions for staff? Mr. Crady?
Yes, again, Morris Crady for the record, here on behalf of the applicant. I did provide the proof of notice to surrounding property owners at the LPA meeting, and we're in agreement with staff recommendation.
Any questions for Mr. Crady? Any public comment? Seeing none, back to the board.
Public
comment, I'll move staff's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 4-1. Commissioner Hurd opposing, yeah. Public hearing number 7, legislative public hearing to consider adoption of Comprehensive Plan Amendment CPA 23-1, South Florida Gateway Plan Unit Development PUD Text Parcel 1. And once again, Ms. Lovelady.
Samantha Lovelady for the record with Growth Management. And this is a request by South Florida Gateway LLC, and it is a request to change figures 4-2, 11-1, and 11-2. And I will be showing you the same maps. This is the existing 4-2, and this is an excerpt of 4-2 with parcel 1 added. This is figure 11-1, existing, and 11-2 showing in red there where parcel 2 came out. And again, this had a supplemental memo with an updated figure 11 that provided the label on the top. And this is also a request to change the text on the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, the same policies as before, and rather, I showed you the less than except that removed the western parcel. And this and ordinance XXX would add this piece to the freestanding urban service district. And for consistency, 4.7A14 has been amended. 4.7A3, these are all for consistency. 4.7A.3.1, which is an excerpt. 4.1B2. And the LPA recommended 4-1 to recommend approval. And with that, staff's recommendation is a motion to approve CPA 23-01, South Florida Gateway PUD text on parcel 1. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Mr. Grady?
Okay, again, Morris Grady for the record. This makes the application complete and whole and the land use swap accomplished. And with that, I'd just like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
See you. And do we have any public comment? No, we don't. Seeing none, coming back to the board.
Staff's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. And for the first time ever, we don't have any Office of Management budget or contracts.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Chairmanship.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not that one big item, so.
And so I think we've run out of things to do, haven't we?
No, we got to go back to board.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
Not just that, first there's this one, next page.
And CPA and appointments too.
Yeah, just that one.
And then we have to do all the reorg stuff.
Oh. Forgot about that, too. Can I blow that off?
And signatures and all sorts of stuff.
Okay, Ms. Gordon. We are Community Redevelopment Agency Board Member Appointments and Chair and Vice Chair Designations.
Donna Gordon for the record. This is to asking that you appoint Robert Krebs to the Hope Sound representative on the CRA and Jamie Roll Taylor to the Port Salerno representative. So move.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And then we ask that you appoint a chair and a vice chair to the CRA.
Rex Centel is currently the vice chair. You want to move him up to chair?
I would make a motion to have Dr. Rex Centel become the CRA chairman.
Second.
Because I can't make a motion, I would like to, Bert Krebs has served on our NAC on and off for years and years and is very knowledgeable of our NAC and CRA process and would make a great vice chair.
Great. Let's do the first one, and then we'll make a second motion.
Oh, okay, I thought we were doing, okay, I'm sorry.
I think you have a motion.
Yeah. There's a motion and a second for Rex Centel for chair.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion by, I'm sorry, I'm not, just kind of faded out for a minute.
Welcome back.
Commissioner Campy made a motion. Commissioner Hurd seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I would move Bert Krebs as vice chair.
Second.
Okay. With that, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Both motions pass unanimously.
Robert Krebs, vice chair, right?
Yep.
Okay. Making sure.
Okay. Back to reorg.
Signatures.
We need to have the board approve the use of the prior chairman's signature plate until the next signature plate arrives.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And a resolution designating who may sign the documents, and it's by chair, vice chair, and then I have it down by district.
Move
Everybody?
Yes.
Move everybody.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And the infamous chart.
Donna, can we go back just a second?
Sure.
To the holidays?
Well, we're not there yet.
Oh, I thought that was the next screen up that you had.
We didn't get to that yet, did we?
Be patient.
Never mind.
We can go down.
No, that's fine.
I'll have a comment on that too.
Mr. Chair, I, at least from my behalf, I would like to keep what I have, and I'm happy with the appointments that I have.
I'm fine with it too.
I'm okay.
You still want Palmer?
Sure.
Okay. Make it so.
And that includes the staff people that are listed here, Michelle, Andrew, Jennifer Salas, for those indicated.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the appointments of the board remain as they were last year,
Even the staff.
even the staff.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And the Loxahatchee Council of Governments, I'm going to take those off the list.
Well, the Land Acquisition Selection Committee might want to leave, right?
Well, yeah, but the one before,
That after today.
Loxahatchee Council. And your meetings for next year.
Oh, me too.
Commissioner Smith.
I apologize, Donna, for not going through this until looking at it now. This year, we had one or two occasions where we had a commission meeting following a holiday. Did we go through and make sure that we don't do that again this year?
Well, let's look real quick. No, we do not.
It was,
No meeting Thanksgiving week.
I guess that was what I
Well,
was.
that was going to be my next question. You're only going to have one regular meeting in November, and that
That's
would be the
not a good idea.
19th, the
No, it's
reorg.
not.
And then in December, you'll have two back-to-back meetings, the 3rd and the 10th.
Is the 12th of November, what is that?
Be following the holidays.
You can, and that'd be following the holiday, but
What holiday?
Veterans Day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the 5th is Election Day. That's
Correct.
definitely no good.
And then
Correct.
it's the second regular meeting after the election when you do the reorg.
I'm okay with the 12th.
You want to do the 12th?
Well, it's not Thanksgiving or Christmas, it's Veterans Day. Some, you
I
know,
would be,
Yeah, that's.
I would
You're
prefer
off
the
here, though,
12th
right?
too.
the building is
12th and the
closed on
19th?
Veterans Day.
No, I prefer, the 19th is Thanksgiving
No, it's not.
weekend, isn't it?
No, it's the
Is the
following.
28th Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay. All right, fine.
I think the 12th works.
19th is by law. That's, I mean,
Okay.
The 12th isn't the celebrate, they'd be the Fridays when they're celebrating Veterans Day?
Fine with 12th.
no, it's the Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Which is
Right there.
You've got staff prep time, you've got stuff, you're going to cause problems.
one. Well, I think having only one meeting for the entire month of November is not a good
I
idea.
don't either.
And you can do the 26th?
That's Thanksgiving week.
Or Thanksgiving.
Failed this year.
Well,
I think the 12th is.
12th.
I do too.
12th's the only choice.
or how about a Wednesday?
12th it is?
Wednesday?
I think the 12th works.
We need to vote?
Okay.
Do you want us to vote on that?
Yes, please.
I'd make the whole thing or just the
No,
12th?
I have a question still.
We got lights.
Commissioner Heatherington.
March, I know that I will not be here on March 12th. And it looks like we have a meeting scheduled, so.
Well, there's a meeting scheduled March 5th that I have here. And then the next meeting, there's a commissioner already that's told me they were going to be out.
The 12th?
No, not the 12th,
6th.
the 26th.
Well, it's the last spring break of the last senior, of the last household, so I will be definitely absent on that day.
I think you're entitled to have that day off.
Any other conflicts?
I'm not in charge of my life, so I have no idea.
Me too.
Now you have a calendar to work around.
Okay, somebody make a motion, do something.
I'd make a motion to accept the calendar as presented, however, including November 12th as a regular BOCC meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. And that, are you?
No, if I had it, I'm sorry. That was for talking about this in the first place.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries
The
unanimously.
first motion as non-chair was a unanimous one. It's a good way to get started.
Yeah.
And the holidays.
Move approval of the holidays?
And just
Second.
FYI, that's including a Friday, July 5th, and only for 2024.
Okay.
Do we always get, I think it's a good idea. I'm just asking, do we always get off the day after Thanksgiving? I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yes,
Yes.
even where I work, we do. Which is not easily.
Anybody
the whole
have any
week.
objections to the holidays? If not, I'll approve them.
Made a motion.
Second, somebody? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And your rules of procedure.
Move approval.
Any changes, omissions?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That's it.
Commissioner Jenkins, do you like the order of the agenda?
Haven't really thought about it unless you have some suggestions.
Sometimes people say that, that public comment should come after some stuff, and some people say it should go before, and I don't really feel strongly, but maybe you do?
I don't.
Okay.
Just I really like the tradition you started with the veteran doing the thing. I would like to continue that if we can relay that to our veterans.
In all fairness, that was originally begun by Commissioner Heatherington.
Okay.
I just took it to the next level.
I'm gonna keep it going.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, with that said, have we run out of stuff to do now?
End of the day.
End of the day, 5:05 comment. No? All right. Well, our next,
Commissioner comments.
Commissioner Hurd,
I'm finished.
Commissioner Campy.
Just to remind folks, Commissioner Smith can announce his event this evening, but tomorrow evening in Palm City from 6 to 8, we'll be closing a portion of Map Road for holiday vendors, Santa, and each of the elementary schools in Palm City, their choruses will be coming to sing Christmas or holiday carols. And it'll give everyone an opportunity to come out during the week and start to kick it off. And I would, anybody that's interested in coming, it'll be a good time. There'll be food trucks as well and some other things. So you could bring the family out, have a little dinner, listen to the music, have a picture taken with Santa, if that's your thing. And other than that, we're going to meet again before the Christmas and Hanukkah holidays, so I will leave it at that.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I'm all set.
Commissioner Smith.
Downtown Jensen, 6:15 tonight, tree lighting.
Good. And with that, we will see you, our next meeting is December.
Hey,
well,
there's some people over here who might have something to say.
Well, I'll be quick, but only finishing the day, I just wanted to thank the staff and all the hosts of the parades over the weekend, City of Stewart, Hope Sound, the Village of Indian Town were all great hosts for us, and our staff that participated, and of course, Fire Rescue did a great job, and of course, our antique fire engine is always a great addition to the event. So anyway, I just wanted to say the community participation was just outstanding in all those areas, and really makes you proud to be in the community we live in. So that was it. Thank you.
Nice.
You did a great job, Don.
all right.
Got
With
the
that,
wave perfected, Don.
yeah. With that,
Smiles were genuine.
we will see you December 12th, and we are adjourned.